Good morning. Today is July 7th, 2019 AD. Welcome to another edition of the Sludge Report, a side project of Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. This is not a creepy campfire story. This is a side project. I'm your host, Uncle Benny, and I've got two topics today, two little things. One of them actually has not hit the Drudge Report yet. Probably will. But the other one has been in the Drudge Report for several days, and it comes up quite frequently. And that is the subject of earthquakes. And unless you've been on vacation out in the deep woods, somewhere not in California, you've probably heard about it. And you're going to continue to hear about it. Not just this one, but all over the earth. And it's important, not because they want to use it for terror or instability or hide, use it for distraction. When I say they, of course, anyone's listened to me before, it means the powers that shouldn't be. And ultimately behind the powers that shouldn't be is Satan himself, Lucifer, the god of this world. And we need to frame it. That's what the Drudge Report analysis has been about. And I want to make a couple corrections before we get into it. Two things. So first of all, in the 7.5 video, the prior video to this, you can find it on the YouTubes. And I made a comment about being... at the time, it was like 15,600,000. Well, that's just the Quantcast tally. That was up to July 4th. Seems like it's been adjusted because I made that video on the 6th. Well, the prior one to that was June 26th. So I stepped away from doing these for a little while. Either way, this is... So I don't really know how to read this. So I don't know how Quantcast quantifies. It says monthly people 15 million. This says the past 24 hours there's 23 million and a quarter. No, wait, yeah, 23 million. Past 31 days, kind of 200 million shy of a billion people. A billion visits, let's say. Not a billion people. A billion. All right, maybe that's the distinction. This is people. Maybe that's unique IP addresses. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of people. All right, it's very popular. And in the past year, 10 billion and a half visits. So, roughly last time somebody went out and counted heads, it was like 7 billion people on the planet. You could break down those demographics and realize that either way, this is a very influential and popular website news aggregate, which, as I say almost every time lately, started as a gossip column for Hollywood and DC gossip, and then and I believe arguably still is. So and it has a purpose that's beyond just information or journalism, okay, or being a news aggregate. It in itself is one of the part of the fifth column, let's say. If you don't know what the fifth column is, look that up. All right, so again, I'm interested in brevity. I want to make a second correction. So I'm recording these not using the Google Hangout, which was I wouldn't say the lazy way to do it. It's not exactly easy either, but this gives me a better sound and a little more control over a few things, and frankly, actually is a bit easier. One of the problems, though, in using this particular software to record the videos is that I can't record my little screen drawing tool. So in the prior video, also in the very beginning, it was something I didn't plan. It just appeared to me. I talked about there being like a pyramid. Now you can listen to that intro, because I don't want to go into it again, because most of you will immediately go up. You're seeing faces in the clouds. They didn't do that on purpose. Well, there's a lot of realities that I deal with that maybe you don't, and that's what this is about. I'm trying to help you to rub the sleep out of your eyes, because there's nothing that is put in front of your eyes. I say this almost every time lately too. That is not there without being on purpose, conscientiously. Someone conscientiously did that for a reason. Okay, so even the way the paragraph alignment, I guess you call it, if you've used Word or any other kind of word processing software, you're generally going to have a little button you can click that left aligns the text or centers it, and this would be the centering. You can see June jobs boom, record unemployed, rate cut canceled. Well, very interesting how that sort of created these I guess trapezoid, like a slope on either side, okay? And then you have the angle of this picture of the Lincoln Memorial. Then you had a very curious still of of all the stills that could be taken. Again, I'm adding a little bit more, but kind of covering some of the same topics. Of all the stills that could have been chosen of images of the explosions, and again, assuming this is just a real image, it might not be. Who's going to go back and go frame by frame and see if this actually occurred in this way? If you connect the dots, again, it's kind of funny, dot, 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 dot. Connect the dots, sort of makes an eye. That's, look at the back of your dollar bill. That's what I'm talking about, okay? It's symbolism that's very important. All right, so anyway, the point of this was you couldn't see it when I was drawing on the screen. And it was left to your imagination. And in talking to one viewer that I know, they thought I meant just the angle of the Lincoln Memorial. No, it's like, look at the whole thing. And I'm not going to open the pen and draw it again. You could even make it a different kind of pyramid, the kind you see more often in Central and South America, that has the little there's a shelf up here. It doesn't come up like the ones in Egypt that we're familiar with. It comes up and goes over, then comes up again with like a little building on top, pyramidic building on top. So you've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. Forgive me if I labor too hard to try to convey this, but there's two styles of pyramids that are throughout the earth generally, and this actually would fit both of them. And then you have the eye. Coincidence or coincidence? Okay, for those who have ears to hear, know what I'm saying. All right, so moving on. Two topics besides those amendments. Here we are, 7-7 Drudge Report. Yeah, I don't know what happened here. There's no topic up here. Maybe there's just because there's too much sludge down here that they need to get in. All right, so what I want to focus on is the earthquakes. So they've been in the news. I'm not going to pull up the prior reports where it's huge headlines here in red and all this. 3,000 earthquakes since July 4th. Now this is like aftershocks and things like that. But we need to keep this in perspective, okay? I'm going to read Matthew 24, 3 through 8. Now, there's one verse in particular that is relevant to this, but it all is, and it relates to all the things we're always talking about, or I'm always talking about here. This is called the sign of the age. I mean, that's sort of the topic of the age of his coming. And Jesus, not his real name, was with his disciples, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us when these things shall be, and what shall be the sign of your coming, and the sign of his return, and of the end of the world." And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that no man deceive you." Okay, so brothers and sisters, boys and girls, that's what we're doing right here, aren't we? Are we not? We're taking heed that no man deceive us. Deceivers abound. Take heed that no man deceive us, for many shall come in my name, saying, "I am Christ," and shall deceive many. And you'll hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you not be troubled. We talked about this the other day, right? That's all we ever hear about is wars, and then rumors of wars. Oh, Pence ran back to the White House. A sub had issues. People died. Must be some kind of war brewing, For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. The end is not yet doesn't mean, well, you can just breathe easy. The end will be when it's the end. It doesn't mean it's not the end of time or the end of, the end of days. because it is. Paul even says it back 2,000 years ago, end of days, in these last days. I didn't think to pull that up, but anyway, for nation shall rise against nation. That's all we ever hear about. And kingdom against kingdom. That's all we ever hear about. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places, meaning various places. Now, this is important. We haven't heard a lot about famines, but if you're in my sort of age group, man, watching television, all you ever saw was bloated bellies of black children in Africa, starving, with little plastic bowls, getting whatever kind of slop they're giving them all over their face, sticky rice or something, whatever, and give to feed the children and all this stuff. I mean, it was a byline to say finish your food because there's children starving in Africa, or a byword, or I don't know, maybe that's not the right expression. We haven't heard a lot about famines lately, but I don't care what age you are, if you've got your head at least not 100% in the clouds, you've heard of pestilences, Ebola, swine flu, bird flu. Now it's measles even making a comeback. Polio making a comeback. What else? Gee, I don't pay attention, but you've got all kinds of pestilences, even all the flus. There's not just bird and swine, just your regular generic flu that mutates every year. So you got to go, if you know what's good for you, you'll go get your flu shot and let them stick something into your holy temple that you have no idea what's in it, what's really going to do it, because they told you it's going to help you not get sick. Well, I think anybody watching this probably doesn't get a flu shot. I would hope you're smart enough for that, and you encourage your loved ones not to as well. The best defense against flu or anything is to be healthy, right? All right, moving on. We want to get to earthquakes, don't we? So that's the next one. And earthquakes in diverse places, various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Well, if this is just the beginning, jeepers, what's coming next, Well, at any rate, the earthquakes, this is the points I want to make here, in diverse places. Well, back then, people didn't, so we're told anyway, people didn't have internet and seismic meters and scientismists all over the world monitoring earthquakes and things like this. So this is actually prophetic and very prophetic, because to know that there are pestilences and famines all over the earth is significant, right? Because that's the age we're living in, where we can hear about that bus crash that rolled over and killed 40 children and a dog somewhere deep in India. We can hear about it in a matter of hours, So have you ever thought about this? Think about it. I have had, when I've pointed this out even years ago to quote-unquote friends, well, it sort of fits along the lines of, oh, things are as they always were. Where is God, Because their stock answer is like, there's always been earthquakes. Sure, there's always been earthquakes. And again, 2,000 years ago, Paul was saying that, these are the last days. Yeah? How many days? What day is 1,000 years? Well, it's been 2,000 years. So if you're talking 2 more days before it all wraps up, that's just a couple days, the last days. If you believe in the 6,000 or so year old Earth idea, that's another topic. But the point being is that whether the Earth's a bazillion years old or a couple thousand, 6 to 10,000 years, whatever you want to say, as far as mankind goes, we're in the last days. I mean, if you believe that Jesus, not his real name, was the Son of God and is who he said he was, and you only have a couple choices in there. He was a lunatic or a liar, or he was the Son of God. Now, if you haven't worked that out yet, you're probably in the first two viewpoints. And either way, even if you were on the fence, don't be a fence rider. It's time to get your choices made. You don't know what tomorrow brings. Maybe your last day. Okay? So, for me in my house, as we'll say, I believe that he was who he said he was. And I encourage you to as well. So anyway, the earthquakes in diverse places is really huge when you think about it. It's like, how would you know in diverse place? What does that mean? And just like, a couple miles over there, and a year later, it's a couple miles over there. Let's say you're living in Palestine or Rome or Italy, what we call Italy, or Gaul, which is France, or England. Back at the time, Roman Empire extended over there. And you heard of an earthquake. The news got to you eventually if you didn't feel it, right? Where did it happen? Well, no. This is throughout the earth. And how would you know if it wasn't in these times that we can find out about it? So even if there were always earthquakes going on, I'm trying to help you think this through. Even if there were always earthquakes going on just as they are, you would not know about all the earthquakes in various places, and pestilence in various places, and famines in various places, and always hearing about the nation rising against nation and kingdom against kingdom and wars and rumors of wars. You wouldn't know about it. And you wouldn't know about it fast enough. And you wouldn't know about it often enough to really be troubled. Christ said, and you'll hear of wars and rumors of wars, see that you be not troubled. Okay? I mean, yeah, you would be troubled if it was, in the neighboring province or whatever, and, gee, do we need to move or run or flee, or is the army going to protect us, or, whatever. But the fact is, extrapolate this out in the stream of time. All right? So that word in diverse places, or that phrase, I believe is really something that I've never heard anybody talk about, but I'm telling you, Uncle Benny tell you that that's meaningful. All right? So the Sludge report is pointing out the fact that we're always hearing about earthquakes. It's big news, It probably may not affect you. Now, another aspect of this, and I'm not prepared to really get into this or document it or stuff, but, if you know about underground nuclear testing, or you've ever heard of direct energy weapons or HARP or things like this, it is not outside the realm of possibility that earthquakes can be created. So think about that. That's another thing that we, if you haven't heard about weather warfare or the ability to seed hurricanes or even direct them, I ain't got time for that to educate you. Okay, it's truth. It's out there. What's taken lots of many years lots of time to come to realizations through sifting through information and reading and watching documentaries and videos and putting it all together. I'm trying to help somebody who hasn't, or maybe they've got it all and they just haven't put it all together. Again, this is all about mind control, and understanding it, and the propaganda, reframing it the way it's properly framed through the eyes of wisdom of where we are in the stream of time. And that's really the heart of these videos. And that's just what I'm doing, even if it's just for me. Okay. So, all right, I guess that's all I really want to say about that. But I want to point out that you could go to you could look it up yourself. This is just 2019. All right. So there's like 20, maybe more pages. I don't know how many pages there are of 30. I mean, I can keep clicking on this and going back. This is earthquakes, and that's only going back, you can see, the 5th of July. Of course, most of these are in Southern California, but if I sort it by region name, you got Western Turkey, Chile. How do you like that? I actually said it. Chile. Argentina, Alaska, Greece, Bali Sea. I don't even know where that is. Of course, Southern California is a hot spot at the moment. And this is these are the smaller ones, more like tremblers or tremblers or aftershocks. You can sort it by macro seismic intensity. Let's do that. Okay. So that's just on this page. Anyway, there you go. So it's emsc-csem.org. I'm trying to put all the links I use in the comments, so that'll be there, and also the verses. So if you that I use, not every one of them, because sometimes I throw things out there or don't quote something, but I am trying to do that for your own edification. And, all right, let's move on from this. I hope that was helpful. Let's move on to the Trump UFO deal. Okay, we can close the Drudge report. We can close the earthquake thing. So this is not yet on the Drudge report, but I think it was before. I'm not going to go back and pull it all up, but let's just do a YouTube search here of Trump UFO. So here we've got 1 day ago, 2 weeks ago, senators received classified briefing on UFOs. It's on CNN as well. 3 weeks ago, he said to George Stephanopoulos, I haven't watched that. A month ago, Navy pilots reveal UFO reports. All right, hang on a minute. 1 year ago, does President Trump believe in the existence of UFOs? So White House press briefing took another otherworldly turn Wednesday when a reporter asked about reports of secret Pentagon, ellipsis. I don't know. What am I going at for this, okay? And again, a year ago, he talked about having a space force, which ostensibly is going to be for fighting our enemies on this earth. Well, is that what that's about? So what am I getting at? Well, we've got the UFO phenomenon. We've got it in the mainstream news, the popular news, on both left and right. And it's been ramping up. Now, I've been exposed to and studied the UFO phenomenon, been curious about it all of my life. I'm not curious about it anymore. I don't care about it. All I care about it is the truth of the matter and the deception that's going on. And what do I mean by that? So I grew up in a time where, Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999, Star Trek, Star Wars, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Battlestar, I think I already said Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, you name it, okay, on and on. And then, you get even way down the road, you've got X-Files, and you've got, there's been, now Ancient Aliens has been a big thing. What's going on with this? Okay, ever since the 50s, the UFO phenomenon has been becoming more and more popularized, normalized, in a sense. Now we've got YouTube. I mean, you can go and look up. If you don't believe in UFOs, first of all, you're an idiot. Okay? I mean, you're an idiot. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you're an idiot. You must have an IQ of 40. Okay? That's what I mean. You're stupid or willfully ignorant. And I hope it's just willfully ignorant, because you can turn around. Okay? Most of us aren't stupid. You're not stupid. If you're watching this, you're not stupid. Okay? So don't take it personally. If you don't believe in UFOs, just look at this as an opportunity to reevaluate your own belief. All it means is unidentified flying object. Okay? There's lots of them. And there's lots of different kinds. And you can, if you've never seen one, you don't have to go out at night and wait around or start, whistling to the skies and praying to Satan or something to show you one. Go down YouTube. People have filmed them. All right. If you're going to call them all a hoaxer, you're still an idiot. Okay. You're walking in unbelief, and I mean, God help you, really, because anything that makes you a little bit uncomfortable, you're not going to believe. And I need to speak to that. Just one moment. All right. Let me explain something again. And I'm not mansplaining. I'm not being condescending. This is a created world. A created world. I operate very often in all my studies and trafficking and understanding mind control, propaganda, manipulation, deception, lying, and logical fallacies. I lost my train of thought here. In all my journey of my own development and sharpening of discernment and reasoning and thinking and understanding, okay. I can't finish the sentence. What am I trying to say here? I was just calling you names. Let me just try to backtrack. I was calling you names that if you're willfully ignorant, but there we go. I have to get back to it. I can't believe it. That was a real important thing to say, and now it's escaped me. All right. Well, I'm just burning daylight here by stalling and trying to track it down. So anyway, let me play just a bit of this video. I'm just going to play what he says, and then I'll come back. Got an ad here.
Hey, want to know something super surprising?
Welcome back to our special Trump in Asia edition. I'm Tucker Carlson tonight. We're standing right now on the North Korean border. Our interview with the president didn't simply focus on foreign policy or the decay of American cities, though you could fill hours of programming on those topics. The federal government is being increasingly open about its decades-long investigation of UFOs. They have spent millions of dollars, and officials admit now they've seen many things they don't understand. We decided to ask the president about it. Here was his semi-cryptic answer. Watch. You gave an interview the other day in which you said you've been briefed on unidentified flying objects. Are they real?
Well, I don't want to really get into it too much, but personally, I tend to doubt it. I mean, you have people that swear by it, right? And pilots have come in and they said, and these are pilots that are not pilots that are into that particular world, but we have had people saying that they've seen things. I'm not a believer, but, I guess anything's possible.
We spoke to a government official recently who said the U.S. government had wreckage from a UFO in a facility on an Air Force base. Are you familiar with that?
I haven't heard that, no. I haven't heard that. It has not been within government, has not been a big thing, but I've seen it. I've seen it on your show, but I've seen it. I don't assume it's correct, but, I have an open mind, Tucker.
Okay. So I did remember what I was going to say, but there you go. You have the commander-in-chief even talking about it. If you go on and watch the video, it's 5 minutes. I'm not going to burn daylight on that, but they bring in another guy named Nick Pope, and he talks about very astutely that at least it's not a president who laughs about it and talks about little green men or makes some reference to a science fiction movie, and that is important. That is a little bit of a development, no matter what we think of this character. Okay. And some of what he said is a bit cryptic, and he didn't want to get into it. And we got the news. They had a classified briefing a couple weeks ago, and who knows, right? I know more than him. How about that? I know more than him. I don't care what kind of classified information they gave, because I know what they are. All right, and I've concluded the matter. So what I was going to say earlier, so we can get rid of this for now. Okay. What I was going to say earlier was that this is a created world. And I'm trying to think how I was relating this to lying and logical fallacies and all these things. But, the scientismists are looking at things from a perspective of, I was talking about false premises. That's what I was talking about. And there we go. So very often, I've come through all my, again, development and learning about all these things and sharpening discernment and understanding the deceptions and the art of lying that is employed by propagandists and things like this. It's all around us. Mind control is all around us. I've been saying that for years. I'm having trouble. All of a sudden, I can't think again where I was going with this. I'm going to leave this in the video. I'm not editing it out. This is kind of funny. So it's a created world. Oh, yeah, false premise. All right. Very often, you'll have people arguing with each other about some topic, whatever it is, whatever arena, whatever topic, and never asking themselves, is the premise correct? Is the premise? They're both talking. Usually, they both have different premises, but is either one of them correct? What's the premise? So generally, the premise when it comes to UFOs is that they must come from another planet. They're extraterrestrials. That's what Ancient Aliens is all about. Or that things are, it's impossible because we don't have one. We haven't seen one. Even Bigfoot, Sasquatch is the Alma or the Yeti. These are things to talk about as well that fit into this. In fact, I'll say this, and you heard it here first possibly. Sasquatch is the new UFO phenomenon. All right? What UFOs were in the late 60s and 70s and beyond, Sasquatch is coming into view. Okay? The same public, it's not quite there yet, but it's coming. Okay? Make note of that. You had Sasquatch featured in $6 Million Man back in the 70s. You never heard a lot about him, but then you get into you got Harry and the Hendersons. There's been other Sasquatch type movies. I watched a movie that I'd heard about. It really didn't have anything to do with Sasquatch, but it was based on legends, Indian legends of basically mountain giants or Sasquatch stealing women and children and cannibalizing them and things like that. But they did portray them somewhat as a different kind of a creature, but maybe it was because to save on special effects. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get into that any further. My point is so often the premise is wrong. The premise is that everything has to follow what we know about the laws of physics, the laws of science, or scientism, as I like to say. It's a religious order, honestly. So, in most of them, many of them. But the fact is that the premise that everything has to fit a certain, square hole, right? It's a created world. That means that spirits, demons, angels, strange physical phenomenon. I don't know what to say about portals, sort of fits all that anyway, but it's a created world. So if there's radio waves that you can't see that people use all the time, or even let's see, I'm just trying to think, radio signals, your cell phone. All right, every time you use your cell phone today or tomorrow, think about it. You can't see that, but think how powerful and real it is, right? So you could call it a dimension. Think of your cell phone as an interdimensional device in a sense. It's going through a different dimension to reach the other person in a sense, okay? And how do you know it's not? But the fact is that the premise needs to be that this is a created world. It's created. So anything is possible. You dig? All right, let's move on. So Jacques Vallée. This guy, very interesting. Let me tell you just a little bit about him. Occupation, venture capitalist, computer scientist, engineer, author, ufologist, I guess I should say it, former astronomer. Man, what a cool sounding dude. I'd like to be a venture capitalist. There's a few things I'd like to explore and all that. But he spent a great deal of his life, and I believe he's still alive, great deal of his life studying the UFO phenomenon now, and other things. Film appearance. He was, I don't know if it was actually him in the film, but in a very big film, at least in my day, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's a really cool movie to watch. I mean, it's a lot of fun, in a sense, but now that I know what they are, it's not as much fun. It's like looking behind the curtain and seeing the Wizard of Oz. All right, it's just takes all the power and mystery out of it. And you got to understand, when I concluded the matter, now the reason I've concluded the matter is since my mid to late 20s, I had some things go on that I prayed earnestly to know the truth and to be in the truth about everything, doctrine, and especially myself, to know the truth about myself as a man, as a human. And it's like one of those prayers that is joked about. Don't pray for patience. Be careful if you pray for patience, because all kinds of things are going to start happening to start trying your patience and showing you don't have it until you get it, right? And it's the same kind of thing. Very hard prayer to walk out. It's one you have to continually pray. It's like, do you still want to keep knowing the truth? Jesus, not his real name, he said to his disciples, there's many things I cannot tell you because you wouldn't be able to bear them. Well, just because I prayed that prayer a long time ago doesn't mean I know everything or anything. Obviously, you know that. But my point being is that, I didn't get all these things at once. It's more than you can bear. It takes time to sort of digest or to sort of see things as they are. And maybe that's the message when Jesus, not his real name, healed the blind man with the spittle and the dirt and rubbed it in his eyes, but then he didn't see right away. He saw like trees walking, So I encourage you, if you dare, pray earnestly. Not like, oh yeah, show me the truth. Pray. I want to know the truth, but don't just ask for the truth to all these kind of mysteries. And if you want to know the truth, the truth cannot exist in a vacuum. Okay, you have to have the whole truth. All right, so that means yourself, about man, woman, society, history, doctrine, deception, the Bible, what's going on, the realities of things, and the mysteries. So, and I'm not talking mysteries like ancient Babylonian mysteries and mystery religion. I'm talking about just the deceptions that are going on now, like UFOs. Okay, so pray that prayer. And you probably have to pray it more than once, because you may get some truth and then, want to go back asleep. And, if you really mean it, you're going to keep going on. You're going to go all the way, Go all the way. Go all the way or don't go at all. Okay? So, all right. Again, it always goes longer than I expect. Maybe I should start scripting this. So anyway, Jacques Vallée spent all these years studying. I was going to pull up the clip of. I'm sorry I didn't do that. of the scene where he's in, where I believe it's him, or at least the character is based on him, because it is a French guy. When they're up on the mountain, it's in one of the climactic scenes of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So at any rate. He studied these for years and years and years and years. I mean, tons of money, he's a smart man, and most highly regarded, I would say, UFO researcher in the history of the subject. And he's concluded for himself. And let me read you one of the things he said. Now, I couldn't find the exact quote because I've heard him say it was spiritual, but Vallée said, I argued with him that the subject was even more interesting if it wasn't extraterrestrials. If it was real, physical, but not extraterrestrials. So he said, you're probably right, but that's not what the public is expecting. So this is him, by the way, talking to Spielberg about, discussing Close Encounters of the Third Time. This is Hollywood, and I want to give people something that's close to what they expect. Well, they've been conditioned to expect, right, that it's aliens from another planet, little green men, Martians, going back to Orson Welles, except now they're coming from further away. Okay, but Vallée was wanting to say it'd be more interesting if it wasn't extraterrestrials. Why did he say that? Because he has concluded, well, I don't know if he had concluded at this point in time, but I know now, and it's not, this is a Wikipedia article, you kind of got to, it's a nice touch, it's a nice place to go for some information, but don't expect it to have everything you need or all the truth either. And let's see. all right, well, I don't find, anyway, the point is, you can find it or you'll come across it eventually, and this is where I've concluded it's a spiritual thing. Okay, let me read you something. There's a lot of verses in the Bible about UFOs, and really, there's only a couple that interest me. And one of them is in 2 Thessalonians 2:8-9. All right, I'm going to read this and then tell you, sort of break it down a little bit. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Okay, now, the wicked being the lawless one, okay, I can't remember or know if that's if it's a revealing of Satan or just a revealing of Antichrist. I mean, the Antichrist has been revealed. If you don't know who it is, look it up. And there are many Antichrists, okay? It's a dynastic thing. It's not like there's going to be this one dude like Damien that just, is born of some woman with 666 in the back of his head. Okay, that's Hollywood BS. That's deception, by the way. It's not just entertainment. Never forget that. Is it entertainment or deception? Well, it's usually going to be deception in the form of entertainment. You can have that for free, okay? So whether it's Satan himself or just an Antichrist or the Antichrist, all right, either one, they're both getting consumed by the spirit of his mouth, okay? By his word, they'll be destroyed. And this talks about when the Lord returns, even him whose return is after the workings of Satan. So after the activity, right? After the effectual working, the operations of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Now think about that. Power and signs, and what are the things going on? Well, we got the signs: pestilences, earthquakes, famines. Let me tell you, the wars, famines, and pestilences, are these workings of a loving God and his creation, or are these the operations of Satan? You decide, okay? And lying wonders. Well, we could call them flying wonders, okay? I don't have it pulled up, but there's in there about, there'll be signs in the sun, in the heavens, and there you go. There's your UFOs. So what does that tell you they are? All right? They're lying wonders. They're flying lying wonders. You can have that for free. Okay? Flying wonders. Everybody wonders about them. They marvel at them. Like, what is that, they used to mostly be flying saucers, right? They looked like craft. Now, again, go on the YouTubes and look at them. They've changed. There's a lot of them that are very just strange contraptions or orbs, or they're lights. They turn into weird shapes, and it is bizarre. And there you go. Okay, there's a great book you could read. I think it's called Alien Encounters. Well, you look it up. Okay, I think it's called Alien Encounters. I read it a long time ago. It's by Missler and somebody else, and I think they come to those conclusions as well, and that's where I'm at. And so, while it's neat to see some of these videos and things, when I was younger, I love to hear a UFO story on Art Bell or something like that, or Coast to Coast, or I'd love to hear about abductions and or kind of weird things. It's like, what, I'm curious, right? And it's fascinating. And I've also been I growed up on this idea of space travel and that kind of thing. I wanted to be an astronaut. I read books on and thought deeply about interstellar propulsion. Yeah, I did. I sure did. And I painted. I remember painting one time of planets in space and the obelisk from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and great movie, by the way. There's hidden meanings in that. Go look into that. So, you're hearing more and more about it, and you need to be aware of what are they doing. Well, is there a coming deception, a mass deception? Well, what do these creatures communicate to people? when they abduct them? What are their reports? It's Jesus was one of them. Again, kind of like Muhammad saying, well, he was, they acknowledge he was a prophet, right? They're always regarded, when you look at ancient aliens, and you listen to these talking heads talk out of their ass, that these are higher beings. They're more highly intelligent, and they're benevolent. And they'll even go so far as to say, well, there's different species and races, and some are and some aren't, and there's ones that are protecting us. I mean, this is setting up a dichotomy that's probably important, just like the left and right. There's power in the Hegelian dialectic. Look that up. All right, so there you go. That's all I wanted to talk about. There's even, you can look this up, interdimensional hypothesis. So it's an idea advanced by ufologists such as Jacques Vallée that says unidentified flying objects and related events involve visitations from other realities or dimensions that coexist separately alongside our own. So what that means is that, and they're saying, they're also hedging, it's not necessarily an alternative to extraterrestrial hypothesis, but it is, okay? They're saying that it is not, they're not coming from Alpha Centauri, all right? They're not coming from the Pleiades. They're not coming from Alpha Reticuli or whatever, Beta Reticuli, I think it is. They're not coming from light years away. They're overlapped just like your cell phone signal is within our own reality. Your cell phone signal is going right through your body, right? So if you could all of a sudden see your cell phone signal, let's say it was like a cord going up to a tower. If you could see it, all of a sudden it could manifest. Like, that's what they're saying, right? Well, I don't know what Jacques Vallée's religious beliefs are at this point in his life. I hope he gets his house in order after all he's seen and has come to the conclusion that nothing is what it seems, and that there's many things unseen, that he recognizes his need for salvation like everyone else. Everyone else, even Mary, okay, Catholics, even Mary, Mother of God, took a little bird as a sin offering. Why did she do that? Because she was a sinner as well. She was fully a human being, okay? She was blessed among women, yes, because she carried the Son of God, but she wasn't God, which you Catholics make her out to be. I don't care what you tell me in denial. You're denying yourself, all right? Denial's a river in Egypt, and you're in Egypt. Come out of Egypt, okay? Come out of her, my people. All right, that was just a little aside. All right, so anyway, Jacques Vallée has concluded after, this guy was a vanguard. He was he was the tip of the spear, as Alex Jones always says, yeah. He was the tip of the spear, man. And he was privy to who knows what kind of evidence and insight and secret messages from anonymous sources. In the end of the day, he's like, man, they're not coming from other planets. There's something else going on. It's supernatural. So anyway, as I've said before, occasionally in these videos, there is no supernatural. It's all natural. It's all created by God for His glory and His purpose. And these are the end days. And, as you see more and more about earthquakes, and you see more and more about UFOs, and you've seen plenty, all right? You've seen it. It's just kind of be sensitive to it. Don't be just desensitized to it, because if we're desensitized to it, we're being lulled into a big event that may be coming of some kind of deception that has to do with UFOs, meaning aliens, okay? Aliens. If you can't look back at the quote-unquote entertainment industry, witchcraft industry, that's been putting a spell over all of us worldwide, conditioning us of these realities, and they're framing it the way they want you to see it, okay? As aliens from other planets that are smarter, more powerful, older. They even maybe populated this earth, okay? They created us to mine gold from them, courtesy Zecharia Sitchin, which I've liked to listen to him. He's a funny little guy. That was not nice. Funny. He's a smaller man. I said that in a cutesy way. I should edit that out, but I didn't mean that in any derogatory way. He's a funny man and very easy to listen to for me. Claim to be a Christian, but then there's other pictures of him in full Masonic garb. All right. I mean, what do you think? But then whatever evidence there is of him being a whatever degree Freemason, or whether he really, really, truly was a Christian or not. Lots of people claim that they're Christians, okay? That's not enough, okay? That's not enough. Don't just say you're a Christian. That's not enough. So he's put forth, all this ancient alien stuff that we were created to mine gold, and because these people needed gold, and anyway, the Anunnaki, all this stuff. Very interesting, but so is science fiction. Science fiction is interesting until you start really realizing ain't nobody got time for that. We need to be in the truth. We need to be in the truth, period. Fiction can be fun, but it's also, why is it there? What's going on with it? Is it somebody just writing a book to make money? Or is there deception involved? I mean, there's plenty of people writing fictional stories. I work out at a gym, and there's a lady in there, and she must go through a book a week, if not faster. And I mean a thick book, probably 300 to 500 pages. And I really wish I could just shake her awake and say, look, you are wasting your time. Now, what do I know she does with the rest of her day and time? I don't. I have no idea. But she reads these, romance type books and things like this, and they're fiction. And I find it kind of sad. Now, look, I've spent plenty of my own time watching fiction. I watched a movie last night. It was fiction. It was based in some realities, and that's why I watched it. I was, I'm not going to push it on anybody. I'm not even going to mention the name. It was somewhat entertaining as far as, it was somewhat informative or helpful, because it did, at least it acknowledged some things which I believe are realities. Let's just leave it at that. So, at any rate, I know our realities. Let me say it that way. We have to have confidence in our beliefs, I mean, you have to have confidence in your beliefs. And you know why? You know how we have confidence in our beliefs? By coming to them honestly, by searching them out. How about that? I just hit out, search out. By searching them out and establishing them through really the Word of God. That's where the truth is. And again, I've said it before, the Word of God is not, in my opinion, in my journey, I've come to the place where it's not just the 66 books that the Roman Catholic Church wants you to believe is it. They have their own Douay Rheims and with the Apocrypha. Then the Protestants have their own. But even though it came from the same, people who put it together and said these are the only ones that are scriptural. Well, there may be others, but let's just say the Book of Enoch is being kept from people. It's kept from people. There's different translations of that and everything, but get into it. It talks about the fallen angels and things like that of Genesis 6, and that's kept from us. It's a big deception. Okay? All right. Well, that's enough for today. I'm sure this video is an hour at least, if it's a minute, and that's not what I intended. I must have to stick to one topic at a time because I go too long. But again, this is for me, and I never called it Flying Wonders before, and that was kind of fun. So, I get something out of it myself. So, watch out for those lying wonders. When you conclude the matter, by the way, it really doesn't have any power over you, and it has little interest. I mean, it is kind of cool to see some of the variations of these films that people get, and of these craft or whatever. And they're not all necessarily fallen angels or whatever, the workings of Satan. In a sense, they're still the workings of Satan, but you've got military craft or things we don't know about that are potentially doing these things. And this is not to rule out these quote unquote aliens giving mankind today technology for this. This is a complete other rabbit trail to go down to. Well, it's not a rabbit trail. There's another avenue to go down to, which I'm not. I want to wrap up the video, but in the past, again, read the Book of Enoch. These sons of God, fallen angels, they've taught mankind things that God never intended mankind to know, or at least to use the way they showed them how to use them. even astrology, things like this, you know. So it's still going on today. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And there we are. There you go. All right, make a great rest of your day. This is Uncle Benny signing off for another edition of the Sludge Report, with a little extra thrown in there on the UFO side of things. Have a good one.